Units raised to a power. We talked about derived units, like taking a block of wood and measuring its volume by multiplying the length times the width times the height. When we do that, we end up with a unit that's raised to a power. And sometimes we have to convert units of area or volume that have a cube or a square on them. And so when we do that, we have to cube or square the conversion factor also. So let's do another example. An automobile engine has a displacement of 289.7 cubic inches. What is its displacement in cubic centimeters? So the displacement of an engine is a measure of how big the engine is. Now they measure them in liters. And so, maybe a 1.6 liter engine. They're saying what size the engine is. This happens to be the size of the engine in my old Mustang. It's a 289 cubic inches. Well, how do we approach this? We need to find out what we're given, where we're starting from, and what we need to end up with. So what are we starting with? Yeah, we're starting with 289.7 cubic inches. And what do we want to end up with? Cubic centimeters. Now we have to figure out the path. To figure out the path, ignore the power at first. Do we know a relationship between inches and centimeters? Yeah, we do. We know that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. So that means we can do this in one step. Because look what happens to this. If I take this side and cube it, that must be equal to the other side cubed. This is what we call an equality. These two things are equal, like a balance beam or a teeter-totter. And if you do the same thing to both sides, it remains equal. So here, I cubed this side, I cubed that side. So what is 1 cubed? 1. So this is 1 cubic inch. And over here, both of these get cubed, the 2.54 and the centimeters. So we have 2.54 cubed centimeters cubed. The mistake students often make is they forget to cube the numbers. And it doesn't matter over here because 1 cubed is still 1. But 2.54 cubed is more like 16. And so we can't just ignore that. So, different ways to do this, but 2.54 times 2.54 times 2.54 equals 16.387064. Cubic centimeters. So that's the relationship that we need. When you cube the unit, you have to cube the number. Here we're cubing this whole thing. We cube the unit, we cube the number. Now a lot of your calculators have a y to the x button, and so you can actually just cube this as you're doing the math. That's fine. Or you can write it out, figure out what the number is, and write it down. Either way is fine. So now that I have my path, I'm going to write out my equation. 289.7 cubic inches. I have one arrow, I've got one fraction. It was cubic inches to cubic centimeters. And then in the denominator, I put cubic inches so that they cancel out. I need the relationship between centimeters cubed and inches cubed. So I figured that out up at the top. 1 inch, 16.387064 cubic centimeters. So I take 289.7 times that messy number, and I get another messy number, and that is cubic centimeters.
Are you writing cubic centimeters like that just for the visual? Is CC still accepted? Like, or is that
That's a good question. CC stands for cubic centimeters. So 1 cc is the same as 1 cubic centimeter. This is used in medicine, and this is used in science. So they mean the same thing. And then just to be extra confusing, they are both equal to 1 milliliter. 1 milliliter is the same size as 1 cubic centimeter. But we're going to use centimeters cubed instead of cc's. But that's a very good question. How many significant figures should my answer have? 4. This has 4. This one came from an exact conversion. When we cube it, it is still exact. And so that's not going to affect the number of significant figures in our answer. And so this will be 4,747 cubic centimeters. Any questions? How many cubic inches in 3.25 cubic yards? What unit are we starting with? We're starting with cubic yards. And what do we want to end up with? Cubic inches. So ignore the power of 3. And do we know a relationship between yards and inches? Or we can do this in 2 steps. Just 1 step. Please, just 1 step. 1 yard is how many inches? 36. There's 3 feet in a yard and 12 inches in a foot. And so 3 times 12 is 36. So, but we need this to be cubed. So we're going to take 1 yard cubed must be equal to 36 inches cubed. We're cubing the unit and the number. 1 cubed is still 1, and so this is 1 yard cubed. But 36 cubed is a little bit bigger than 36. That's 36 times 36 times 36. So that's 46,656 cubic inches. Let's draw a picture, right? We've got a cube that is 1 yard on a side. Length times width times height. 1 yard times 1 yard times 1 yard, 1 cubic yard. This side is also equal to 36 inches. Didn't want to do that. So if we measured it in inches, it'd be 36 inches times 36 inches times 36 inches, which is not 36 inches. It's 46,000 inches cubed. So this is our path. We can go from yards cubed to inches cubed. Some people might go from yards to feet to inches. That would work as well. So we figured out our path. Now we're going to write out our equation. This is a simple one. Dora says yards cubed to inches cubed. Yards cubed to inches cubed. The numbers from your path, The numbers from your path go on the top of your equation. Yes?
It's 3.25 yards.
Oh, I wrote down the number wrong. Thank you. I do that sometimes. I wish I didn't. I wrote it right under there and I did it wrong. So easy to do. Another reason why you should always write things out, because then you can go back and see why you got your answer wrong. 3.25, using the correct number, yards cubed to inches cubed. And then what unit do I want to stick down here? Yards cubed. And so those cancel out. And then I figured out what the relationship is. 1 cubic yard is 46,656 cubic inches. So I've got 3.25 times that big old number, and I get 151,632 cubic inches. Which is bigger, a cubic yard or a cubic inch? Cubic yard. Big unit, small number. Small unit, big number.
So we assume when they've given us 3.5 yards cubed that they've already cubed the yards?
That's a good question. So I've been hammering to you that when you make this conversion factor, you have to cube the number. Something like this, 3.25 yards cubed. This 3 applies only to the yard. It does not mean that we're going to cube the 3.25. If they wanted that cubed, they'd put parentheses here and put the 3 on the outside. Okay, so that's why what I'm doing up here, when I'm cubing both sides, I put parentheses around the whole thing, and I put the cube on the outside. That means that cube applies to everything inside. So let's throw a different color in here. So if I have x, y squared, does that mean I have to square the x? No. So if I have 3y squared, do I have to square the 3? No. So this is like the unit, and this is the number. So the number and the unit are separate from each other. They go together, but they're separate. So this is like 3y squared. I take those parentheses off. That's a very good point. I usually forget to mention until I see students doing it. Okay, so sig figs. 3. So does that mean it's 152 cubic inches? No. But I see students do that all the time. So if you were earning $151,632 a year, but we're just going to round it to $152 a year, would you be okay with that? No way, right? You just stole a whole bunch of money. And yet, especially on exams when you tend to lose your mind, students see absolutely no problem in rounding 151,632 cubic inches to 152 cubic inches. You can't do that. Well, what do? We need 3 sig figs. Well, you could put placeholder zeros in there, but that's not the best thing. So this is what I recommend that you do. So here, this digit that we're rounding off, is that in the ones place? This is the ones place, tens, hundreds, thousands. If the place you're rounding to is greater than the ones place, put the number in scientific notation first, and then round it. And then you won't make that mistake. If it's in the ones place and you round it, you'll be fine. If it's in the tenths or the thousandths, you'll be fine. It's just when you're rounding things up here, greater than the ones place, that you end up in trouble. So let's put this in scientific notation. 1.51632 times 10 to the what? 5, right? We're moving the decimal point from here. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when I round here, I don't have to worry about putting in any placeholder zeros or changing the value of the number. And as far as I'm concerned, it is always okay to write your answer in scientific notation. Always. Any questions? Oh gosh. We didn't get nearly as far as I had hoped.